Don't forget Stephanie's name.
Stephanie Cree.
Yes. No, I meant this was for Evan.
Oh.
And we are here, the Upper Peninsula Environmental Coalition, with another episode of Let's Talk, Creating Virtual Communities in the UP. Our hosts are me, Evan Zimmerman, Vice President of UPEC, and Horst Schmidt, UPEC President. And tonight's presentation is Beach Cleanup, a passion for the environment, with our special guest, Zena Huhta and Stephanie Cree. Zena is the Lake Superior Program Coordinator of the Natural Resources Department of the Keweenaw Bay Indian Community, Baraga County. Thank you so much for being here, Zena and Stephanie.
Thank you for having me.
Well, Zena, I want to just ask if you could tell us a little bit about yourself so that people get an idea of all the interesting experiences you've had throughout your life.
Oh gosh. Well,
no, I mean, not the whole show, just
well, I've been born and raised here, lived my whole life in Baraga. So I grew up in this beautiful area. I attended Northern Michigan University, where I obtained an associate's degree in criminal justice, which put me into a career as a corrections officer. I did that for 6 years and decided that wasn't really my calling. So I chose to kind of step away from that. And I was married at the time and I did have a little boy. So that kind of played into it too. I wanted to be a mom, and well, working in the Corrections Institute, it kind of has a way of, I don't know, it kind of hardens you to a certain extent. And I just didn't want to be that kind of person and wanted to be more of a, kind, caring, compassionate mom for my son. So looked at different, possibilities as far as a career. I was the KBIC youth director for a couple years. I really enjoyed that job, working with the youth. From there, I decided to go back to school, and I obtained 2 more associate degrees, one in liberal studies and one in business administration. And upon finishing my business administration degree, I ended up working for the KBIC medical clinic, where I was a grant manager or a grant coordinator, and I coordinated a BLAC grant for the medical facility, and really enjoyed that position. Gave me the ability to work with people throughout the community. And the sad thing was, it came to an end, and I found myself kind of looking again down another avenue. And it just happens that I knew Stephanie, and she was telling me they had job openings at the Natural Resources Department, and I was like, well, wasn't sure, but I put in for the job. And I like I said, I've managed grants before, so I knew that end of it. And I must say, I'm very happy that I applied for the position as Lake Superior Program Coordinator, and I do love my job here. The work that people do here, it matters. It makes a difference. And we are out in the field a lot, not so much me all the time, but like Stephanie, some of the other people I work with, they spend hours out in the field, and what they do really makes a difference in our area, whether it's wildlife, plants, water, out on the lake, fish, habitats of animals. The work they do is very important. So I feel blessed because I really enjoy my job, and I was able to conduct the beach cleanup this year or this summer, which we'll be talking about, and that was very rewarding. So it kind of really made my summer, and like I said, I'm lucky to be in the job I'm in.
Well, that sounds like an interesting life. It is, but I've never worked in a prison, so I haven't had that experience.
You're not missing anything.
Anyway, the reason we have you here is a lot of people don't realize what the kind of work the tribe is doing to improve the reservation, and it surprises me that you guys kind of keep the whole thing under a basket almost. And so you know, I found out about it by when I saw an article in a magazine about your work on the stamp sands behind the campgrounds. And so I was really impressed with that. And then I realized that, you know, other tribes were doing similar things, and it's like you're in the forefront of conservation. And I think one of the things we want to perhaps let people know is, you know, what is the, you know, Ojibwe, you know, view on the environment, and you know, how it shapes what you're actually doing, what we're going to be talking about tonight.
Well, the environment to the Ojibwe people is probably first and foremost the most important thing. I mean, our environment we live in, this is our home. If we don't take care of it and preserve and protect it, future generations might not be able to, you know, even sustain on it. So we do take, you know, the beautiful Lake Superior, you know, our fresh water. That's very important to us. Our resources as far as, you know, wildlife, our plants, all of that, that's life. That's what, you know, keeps us going. If we lose any one of those components, you know, you're going to start seeing, you know, effects, you know, for years to come. So yes, we are very, you know, determined to do our part in protecting our resources, our wildlife, our plants, the water, the air, you know, like you did mention, it's not that we keep it under our hat. I think sometimes it's just, you know, we're so busy doing what we're doing that, you know, we kind of just, it doesn't get out there as much as maybe it, you know, we would like. But yeah, I mean, off the top of my head, I couldn't even start naming all the programs that we do, you know, as far as protecting, you know, wildlife, plant life, you know, the water, the air, recycling, you know, yeah, there's vast amount of efforts that we do, you know, put forth.
So that's really great, you know, because I appreciate it, because I've been studying Indian culture last few years, and you know, it's really different than when I grew up, and you know, you guys were the savages, and we were the good guys. You know?
Yeah.
I don't think that was ever true, Horst.
Yeah. So, you know, and I think this whole, you know, it's not like I stayed ignorant, but there was really no serious scholarship on Native American history, and so it's really been coming out in the last years. So it's really given me a much broader you know, view, and you know, and it's fascinating. That's the other thing. So that's why I enjoyed. But let's get to your the topic of the beach cleanup, because I think it's you know, so as we were talking before, you know, when we were talking about doing this show, you know, you were just telling me about all the enthusiasm you have in doing this kind of work, and you know, usually you don't put those two together, enthusiasm and beach cleanup. You know, so I think you know, maybe you could just give us an idea of what you do, and maybe show people through your slides what we're going to be talking about.
Okay. So do you want me to put my slideshow up now, or?
Yeah, well, I mean, at least the first one,
Okay.
the Google Earth one that shows what you're doing.
Okay, now okay, here we go. Okay, so can everyone see that?
Yeah. Can you enlarge it?
Oh,
Control plus.
You can also click slideshow on that top bar there and start from beginning.
aha. Okay,
So,
so
It's currently just sharing this program though, so you'd have to switch your screen share over to that one.
Okay, switch.
To slideshow on the upper bar there.
Oh, up here?
Here,
Yeah,
I'm just going to cancel out your screen share. Just do a screen share one more time, and
Okay.
when you hit share, it should allow you to choose the full screen option.
Okay, now I got to find screen share again because it's okay. Okay, it's still not.
Oh, just go with that one. It's fine.
Okay.
We can see it clearly.
So the picture that is the first slide is, this is kind of a cool picture. It's Google Earth, obviously. But you can see this is obviously Lake Superior. It goes into the end of the bay there, but it shows quite a bit of the area of beach that we actually clean. This is more so on like the Baraga side. So you're looking at kind of the Baraga, the highway going into Baraga off onto the left by the Google Earth there. That's the highway that brings you into Baraga from Lawrence. And then you're going towards, like if you were heading towards Houghton, and you see kind of it goes out into the Sand Point area where it comes out to a point. And you can start to see that lighter sandy area. We police that whole, pretty much that whole area from where that you can, and I shouldn't say that sand because a lot of that is, again, the stamp sand that you were talking about, Hortz.
Yeah.
There is some beach sand there, but majority is, stamp sands keep washing up. It's, we're fighting it, but it still keeps finding its way. So we police all of that. It's kind of the lighter brown color all the way to the end. And it's probably, I think it was like probably 1.8 miles up to like the very edge of where the lighthouse is, Sandpoint Lighthouse.
Mhm.
So, it doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're picking, up garbage all along that 1.8 miles, that ends up to be quite an area. And that's just one little location right there. So, every Monday we go out, and this is kind of like the last area we police, because we start on the Ziba side out by Pequaming and work our way back around to this area. This area does see quite a bit of traffic. The Jibbawa campground is in there. They have a day use area. We'll see pictures of that later. So that area sees quite a bit of beach traffic, probably from, I'd say, June on till just about a week ago. And then all the way down to, so that at the end of the top of the slide, that's where we call Van Stratton's. And all along there is pretty much beach area that people frequent and we remove garbage from. So then I can move on to the next slide. Now you're seeing a picture of Second Sand Beach, and this is the first area. We were not policing Second Sand to originally start with. I think it was like the first week or 2 weeks, we were only doing from First Sands back to all the way around to the other side of Baraga. But then we decided that because people do frequent Second Sand, and it is a very popular beach, that if we were going to do one area of beach, it wasn't that much further for us to go and do and take care of Second Sand too. So then we coordinated that into our weekly cleanup efforts as well. And there was weeks depending on what was going on that there was more garbage than others, but it doesn't matter, because like I said, our focus is to keep the garbage out of the water, try and reduce microplastics, and just keep it looking pristine and beautiful for people to enjoy. And the less that ends up in the water, that's less leaching of plastics and whatnot that get in there that ends up in our drinking water or whatever, ends up in our animals, messing up their habitats, causing a lot of damage down the road. So we didn't really consider it like it was a major, a big deal that we added it to our rotation.
Zena, can you talk a little bit about kind of microplastics you're finding on the beaches?
Okay, so microplastics are, so you take a pop bottle top, for example, and it starts out as a pop bottle top and it ends up in the water. And over time, they never fully decompose. They just get smaller and smaller and smaller. So the plastics, you know, just like they tell you a plastic bottle leaches into the water, they kind of shred, get smaller particles. They might, you know, break off. Those small particles end up washing up on the beach. I can't tell you how many pop bottle tops we, you know, it's one of my worst things. I think that, and cigarette butts are probably the other one, but we pick up just a ton of those. And if we don't pick them up, they end up becoming tiny little pieces of plastic that end up in the water. The fish end up eating them, birds end up eating them, you know, that ends up affecting them, ends up in our water. Like I said, it's leaching into our water. It's just not a good thing. So microplastics, we are seeing, I mean, we removed a lot. We probably could have just a microplastics cleanup though still, because there's still, like now I noticed this last cleanup Monday, you're seeing, because of the wave action and the winds are, you know, the weather's changing, you're starting to see a lot more of the little tiny pieces of plastic washing up. And those are things that we like to, you know, pick up too. It's tedious. You know, yeah, you get tired of it, but, and actually I shouldn't say you get tired of it, because you just pick them up. And actually when you're walking and you see something that's kind of like a treasure, you're like, hey, get it off there. So yeah, microplastics, not good. It's, you know, it comes from your bottles, your bottle tops, fireworks. Fireworks are horrible for causing microplastics. After the 4th of July, the beaches were, I say they should ban fireworks, because a lot of those fireworks have the smaller plastics, and you're ending up with little, like, they're like little propeller things. They end up in the water, they end up getting washed back up, you know, and just over time they turn into what we call the little tiny microplastics, and you're picking them up for years. So yeah, that's becoming a big thing, is the microplastics, as well as, you know, the garbage that we pick up weekly too.
What kind of volume have you been picking up this year?
Okay, so you're jumping to the head of my presentation. I actually have.
No, go ahead. I didn't want to interfere with that.
Nope. Actually, I do have a slide at the very end that does a weekly total of the amounts that we picked up from week to week, and then the end total. So I think you'll be surprised at the amount that we actually collected over the, and it wasn't like, so we started July 9th was our first one, and we just ended Monday. So not like, you know, July, August, it wasn't like it was, you know, and then there was 1 week where we were closed down, so we didn't have cleanup because there was a tribal shutdown. So I think it was like maybe, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 beach cleanups. So, you know, when you see the amount of poundage at the end of the slide there, I think you'll be kind of impressed. So we'll move on to, this is a picture of First Sands, which is, it's actually not too far, or it's right down the road from where I'm working currently. I'm in the office as I'm doing this presentation. This is one of our views. We can walk out, I can walk out my office and take and look at this beautiful scenery just down the road. So it's First Sands. It's, as you're looking at this picture, you go around the little bend there, and that's, you're looking into Keweenaw there. You can see the sandy beach right now in this picture, but a lot of times, depending on where the tide sits, there is no beach right there. So it just depends on what time of the day you're taking your picture. So when we clean, we try to hit this particular section in the morning, because you actually have this little sandy beach area and you can get the garbage. If the water comes up, then obviously it's, you know, you can't get it. So that's kind of why I grabbed the picture at this time, because it shows, you know, you got to get the garbage off there before it actually ends up getting washed back into the water. So And I see, I'm sorry to stop the presentation. Sorry about that. I just seen an email from Stephanie. I was wondering if she can't log in maybe. Now I lost my presentation. There we go.
We have Stephanie here, but
Is she?
looks like her audio might not be connected.
Okay, I wonder if she's having issues.
She is.
Okay. She was having computer, I know, issues because her computer wouldn't, she didn't have audio or something on her computer. So we'll just move along. So from after we get done cleaning First Sand Beach, which like I said is right outside my office, we move down the road. It's probably about a half mile down the road, and it's what they call KBIC boat launch. This is a little area people can pull down in and they can launch their boats. A lot of people use it as a swimming area. So again, it sees a lot of beach traffic, as well as people, you know, using it for the boat launch and launching their boats. So I won't lie, there's usually significant amount of garbage in this area. So we're, you know, we make sure that we hit this area pretty good. And the picture is kind of, it's a pretty decent size area, but this top picture makes it look like it's super large, and it's really not. It's just kind of a little smaller area. So then from there, just on the other side of the boat launch is what it's called the Alligator. And I don't know if you can see this other picture that's kind of hidden. I don't know if everyone can see that, but it's basically the same one you're looking at. It kind of reminds me of a tropical little getaway place because the way the trees are, it provides shade. It's got a nice little beach area, and people like it because, you know, even though it's a little rocky, you've got the shade, but you've got like the open area, and it's kind of hidden, tucked away, so you can't really see down in there. So that's another place we make sure we hit, you know, and collect all the garbage. Sometimes this is got lots of garbage, and then sometimes it's not. It just depends on, I think, the weather, the weekend, you know, how people are, if they're outside or not. But it is, like I said, it's been a well-known area for years for people to swim. Okay, here we go. So from the Alligator, you drive down Bay Shore, keep heading in towards town, which is Lawrence, and you get to Lawrence, and we have what you're looking at is the Lawrence waterfront, and we police that. Even though the village of Lawrence, they have a harbor master and they have workers and they police it as well, and we just, you know, kind of just as an added extra, you know, with everything going on with the COVID and everything, we know a lot of places are short-staffed. So, you know, we go in, make our run through, you know, pick up, collect the garbage, and it's just, you know, again, just to keep the area clean and free of the garbage, the microplastics, so families and their little children can, you know, enjoy it. I did talk with the harbor master, and he was very impressed because he didn't realize, you know, that we were doing this. And so we ran into him, probably it was like the second or third beach cleanup we were doing, and he saw us walking around with the orange vests on the beach, and he was looking at us like, what? So I went over and I you know, introduced myself, and I told him what we were doing, and he was very, very impressed and very thankful because, like he said, you know, resources are short, workers are, you know, short right now. So if we can all work together and collaborate and, you know, make an effort to keep it free of garbage and microplastics. And I won't lie, we find needles from time to time. You know, I think, you know, that's just, you know, the way it is in society nowadays. You're going to find one or two, and, you know, we have containers and stuff, and we take care of those and dispose of those properly. So, you know, that's another key thing too, is making sure those are not on the beach and not, you know, having little ones step on them, or, you know, adults, anybody. So that is the Lawrence waterfront. And then from there, we go into the head of the bay. which I'm sure everybody is familiar with, the red rocks coming from Lance. You get down to the bottom of the red rocks, and that's where you start the head of the bay. There's a nice rocky, if you look, I'm trying to see which way we're looking here. So the side picture that is kind of hidden, by our pictures, that is if you were standing right at the base. Oh, sorry. My son is calling. If you're looking at that side picture, you can look and you're looking towards Baraga. That's at the base of the red rocks. That's where we start. And actually we'll go backwards even. There's a rock wall there, and it's kind of like beamed up, and you can walk back, kind of like towards Lance, towards the red rocks. It depends again on the tide, but we go as far as we can go, because a lot of times people like to tuck garbage up in that. It's like I don't know what you call it. It's all wooded and there's little openings in it. It's like from keeping the washouts, whatever, but people will tuck garbage up in there. And so if you're standing there, you can't necessarily see it until you walk right up and look inside the little holes. And then, we'll pick out a pop bottle, a Gatorade bottle, garbage, whatever. So we make sure we check that area, and then we walk that whole section, and you can see how it goes around. And then it goes to what everyone knows as the willow tree, like right before the ponds on either side of the highway. And we usually will go all around the willow tree, work towards the other side, because there's kind of like an island, and there's a house that sits in there. We'll police as far back as we can, get the garbage. A lot of times we'll police the opposite side of the road as well and remove the garbage from that too. We try to keep an eye on it and make sure if you're seeing visual garbage, we get over there and we start doing, combing the side too. So then from the head of the bay, we move on to, and there is a little, on the opposite side, as you get past the willow tree of the head of the bay and you're heading towards Baraga, there's like a little turnoff spot, and there's another like willow tree where people pull in and they'll eat their lunch and stuff. There's a lot of garbage right there. So we hit that little spot too. It's not really a swimming area per se, but people just sit there, they enjoy the view, they eat their lunch. Some people I've seen actually putting boats in right there, but we find a lot of garbage right in that area too. So we police that. It's kind of like I wouldn't even say it's not even a half mile. It's just a little, section there. And we just make sure we check that and keep that clean as well. So from that area, then we move into like what I was talking about, the Ojibwa campground day use area. And these are the pictures you're looking at. You can see campers there. Further down the day use area, in that bottom picture, you can kind of see where there's a person standing, and from there back, that's all day use area. So by day use area, what that means is people in the community can come in and they can use that area during the day. They can picnic, they can swim. That's the only area within that campground that's allocated for them to do that. They can't just go over to a campsite and swim where someone's camping. So we police that area as well. Again, it gets a lot of traffic over the holiday season, the July 4th. There was a lot of fireworks, of course, the cans, all that good stuff. So we police that area very well too. Going off of there, I didn't get any pictures of, we do. So if you keep going from the campground, you go over toward what's called the Sandpoint Lighthouse, and the lighthouse, we actually go all the way to the point of where the lighthouse sits, and there's garbage cans there. We empty those, police those, and just go around the point. There's a little trail that kind of wraps in through there. We check that, because there's kids there, they ride their bikes there. So we police that too. So there's not a picture, and I should have gotten a picture of the Sandpoint Lighthouse because it is beautiful. And just to show that, in fact, that is another little area just adjacent to this that we do police. Now from there, we move down to this is what they call Sand Point. It's just on the other side of where the lighthouse is. So where the lighthouse sits, there's actually a little, you'd have to swim across to get to this part of the beach, because the water every year it changes. Some years you can walk across it. This year you can't walk across it. It's quite wide and quite deep. So this would be like on the other side. If you go in behind the our Ojibwa campground where the powwow grounds are, there's a road that takes you in behind there, and you'll come up to a gate where that starts their restoration site, where they've done all the restoration work and all the planting. So this is at that end, like right at the very gate where it starts the trail. So you're kind of looking, and it looks, I mean, it looks kind of flat. It's I won't say it's flat, but just a lot of stem sand. And then this one, the next picture or series of pictures, this is if you take and you leave the point at which the slide previously, that was behind the powwow ground. So you'll drive out, you get on US 41 and you'd head towards the Pines gas station and the tribal police station. There's a road right after the tribal police station, and it goes down and it'll bring you right to the lake. There's a little petting zoo right there, or was a little petting zoo. You take that road, there's a parking lot, and it brings you to this point. And you can see on the top picture, that's looking towards what they call a Sinnons, or up towards Van Stratton's. And you can kind of see, if you follow that picture, the beach goes a ways. The neat thing about this picture is you can see all that green and yellow. That's all the restoration efforts, the planting that, has been done. But this picture gives you an idea of how that stamp sand, how that beach changes. Every year it is different. There's a lot of beach there this year. It's anyone's guess next year what that's going to look like. If it's going to go further out, if it's going to come up, closer, you never know. At the end of that top picture, going towards the Sinnons, there used to be a fence that used to come out, and it used to kind of like section off. It's kind of stopped, like that was the end of the beach. That fence actually got buried, and I mean, the water was like right up to the top of it, and that was chain link, and it was tall when they first put it in there. It was very visible, but over the changing, year to year, the changes in the beach and the way, the water came in for winter, the ice, it eventually was just buried and you couldn't even see it. So they ended up ripping it out of there. So I've even noticed week to week, some sections that we walk on in this whole area, it can change from week to week, certain places. And it's amazing, because you're walking and you look and you're like, wait a minute, that the water wasn't there last week, but it is this week, or the following week. Wait, there's more sand. It's really amazing how that changes up in dynamic, from not only week to week, but even like what it's going to look like come spring. So, and from that point, we move on to, this is what's called Van Stratton's. So there is a little bit of a separation from the end of where we stop at a Sinnons, and it's like right before a Sinnons where the beach kind of stops and it turns to rock. On the other side of a Sinnons, there's what we call the Indian Cemetery is there. Right in that area starts the beach again, and we police that little area all the way up to Van Stratton's, and it's a pretty good, it's a significant area of beach. You can see, like on this top picture, the rocks. There's a nice rock, wall there, barrier to, try and stop erosion and whatnot. And then you can kind of see those little pilings or whatever that are sticking out of the sand. Those kind of come and go and sometimes disappear, sometimes show more. So we, like I said, we police this area. by those trees, you see a lot of traffic in the summer. People like it because there's shade. As far as I've seen them, as far down as, you know, right to there's like a another wall that starts, and people will frequent, you know, as far down as that. So again, all these beaches that I've shown in the slides, they really do get a lot of traffic throughout the summer, especially this summer, more so this summer probably than I'd say the past, you know, couple years, probably because not only of COVID, but there's nothing going on. There was nothing for people to do, so they utilized the beach. So that brings us to the totals. So here's the totals from week to week. First week, you can see we were pretty busy. 440 pounds of trash or garbage we removed. Second week, we were all pretty excited because it went down to 140. The third week, we were really excited because it went down to 40 pounds. And then it started creeping back up, and it went from 200 to 160 to 140. But as you can see, it went down. It kept going down. And I don't have this past Monday's total on here. So the past Monday, which was that was the 31st, August 31st, the total for August 31st was 20 pounds. And all of these areas, we removed 20 pounds. So it shows that obviously, you know, there was times where I think if you were gonna, and just because we saw the traffic, you know, I know the area, I would see how, you know, the beaches were frequented. You can see, you know, as the weather starts to kind of, you know, go change and temps get cooler, whatever, and people maybe stop using the beach so much, then the amount goes down less and less. And then right before this last cleanup, which was Monday, the weather did take a real, you know, turn for getting colder, and people just weren't on the beaches. So we only yielded 20 pounds, which is, it's awesome. I mean, I'm not sad that we only yielded 20 pounds, but it just shows that, you know, our efforts did, you know, they make a difference. And so total without Mondays was, so with Mondays, it would be 1,260 pounds of trash total taken off the beach for the 8-week or 9-week period.
That is a shocking amount.
Yeah. Evan, is Stephanie able to communicate with us?
I believe so. Stephanie, are you able to talk right now? It looks like you might be unmuted.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, I'm here.
Did you get lost, Steph?
Just, you know, computer issues.
We also had a couple of comments from Connie saying that it's awesome you picked up that much, and now it's 20 pounds left last week. And she also said differences on lake level, i.e. sand amount, could be the lake satious with the lake coming in and going back out.
Correct. Yes, and you can tell, so 1 week, me and my coworker, Aaron, we started walking, and we were headed from, so if you were headed towards Lance, we started at what we call the willow tree, and we started walking, and you had to kind of like walk the rocks because the water was, you know, so far up. By the time we got halfway down the beach, the water was like 2 feet out. It was, I mean, it was amazing. And, you know, we're just all in awe over this. I mean, we live here, we see this, we should be used to this, but it was just so amazing that you go from water up to the rocks to all of a sudden it's like 2 feet plus further back, and you can see all the rocks, and, you know, so yeah, it is the sage, and it comes and goes.
So, Stephanie, can you tell us a little bit about the testing of the waters?
Yes. So this is our 3rd year that we've been conducting beach sampling along the swimming areas on Lake Superior. We started it, of course, after the Father's Day flood because, you know, heavy rain events can cause a lot of runoff. And then, you know, in our area, we have a lot of waterfall that contributes to bacteria as well. So we started monitoring at First Sand. We do the Zeba boat launch, the alligator, head of the bay, the campground, and then all along Sand Point. And the way our monitoring works is from the time you take that first sample, you have 6 hours to get that sample to the lab for testing. And then it's another 18 hours until we get the results. So we've done a really great job with communicating with the Western UP Health Department, and our relationship there is kind of built as the years gone on. And so this year, because of COVID, the health department was, you know, using a lot of their funds towards, you know, COVID issues. And lucky for us, we got some funding from the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative last year, and we were able to step up and take over some of the sites for the Western UP Health Department. So towards the end, I think we were doing sites, we were taking samples from almost 10 sites every week. We'd go out on Thursdays. We started earlier and earlier because, you know, of course the weather was warm, and we're trying to hurry up and get the samples out into the lab so that way we could get the results back earlier in the day on Friday to alert the public. So what we do is we sample for E. coli and fecal coliform, and we follow the guidance of the Western UP Health Department. So once it hits a certain level, we have to close a beach, and because it's not safe for human contact, of course. So we did have to close a beach this year. We did put out an advisory earlier in the summer. We didn't have to close it. It was just an advisory. And then we ended our sampling. I think our last sample date was August 20th. And so now we kind of, you know, we use our Facebook page quite a bit and kind of alert the public, you know, swim at your own risk. We're no longer doing our sampling each week. But it's been really great because now the public sees us out there collecting these samples. And so they know, you know, if I'm not on Facebook putting those results out there, people are asking, hey, is it safe to swim here this week? Is it safe to swim here? You know, so they know that we're getting it done. And then also, thanks to COVID, we've got some funding to do some alerts. So now we have this system called RAVE, and the general public can sign up for alerts. So, and when we closed the beach for the first time, that alert went out to everybody who was signed up on our RAVE system that this beach was closed. So it's been really great. And like I said, we went from a few sites, you know, to, you know, taking on sites, you know, from the Western UP Health Department. And then this year we added in Second Sands Beach as well, because, you know, we had a lot of public come to us and say, well, are you testing this? Are you testing this? And with my contact at the health department, they said, well, no, we only sampled there because, you know, the first year because of the Father's Day flood, of course, and we knew the bacteria levels were so high, so we no longer sample there. So we knew it was a concern to the public, and we took it upon ourselves to start doing that site as well.
So that means you're probably the only one who's really doing any of the kind of testing in the Keweenaw.
We are the only ones who are doing the testing all along Lake Superior here in Baraga County.
And that's really great.
Yeah, it's been a really big deal for us that we've built up this relationship with the health department, and that we're able to go back and forth with each other. And, you know, we go to them for guidance, and then they, you know, they've trusted us with taking over some of their sites.
So are you going to be continuing this next year?
I hope so. So thankfully, thanks to our treatment as a state authority now, we are approved for additional funding for beach monitoring specifically. So, but looking at different, news and stuff, we're finding that different programs are getting cut. So we're kind of keeping our fingers crossed. We did kind of hold back a little bit of money from our grant this year to start off next year's monitoring, just in case. So I believe we'll have enough money to monitor next year as well, but we're going to have to keep looking for funding. And the tribe has been really great about knowing that this is a service we need to provide to the public. So the first year that we did this was all done by tribal funding. The tribe kicked in the money to pay for the analysis of the samples.
Oh, so I'm gathering that there's a lot more traffic on your beaches simply because the highway is next to the lake, and this has that necessary what do you call it, connection between trash and people and water, I guess.
No, actually, the things that is affecting our, the bacteria levels are, the waterfall, because right there at the head of the bay, like you said, where we get a lot of that traffic, we have a wetland right across the street from there. So
is that the Falls River?
Pardon?
Is that the Falls River?
No, we're talking about the head of the bay. Right there from the Waterstone Suites to Baraga State Park.
Oh, okay.
And there's a small wetland across the street there. And I know as you drive around there, a lot of times in the summer, you'll see a lot of geese with their little young. And so when we go out and we sample, we always take note of that. So we always want to monitor the area as well to see if there's any kind of contaminants that, the next day when we get this analysis back, we're always thinking, okay, well, the level was high in this one spot. Oh yeah, we saw a bunch of geese there, and that's going to contribute to that bacteria spike.
Is that area that's next, behind it are the lagoon settling ponds for sewage system for Baraga?
Right.
So that has a potential for creating some types of bacteria. Is that correct?
That is correct. And so it's a small creek that so wastewater treatment plants are allowed to discharge. They treat the waste and then they're allowed to discharge so much into, the rivers and streams right there. They have a certain period of when they can do that discharge, and they have a certain allowable amount that they can discharge. So there's a creek there that comes along Baraga State Park and comes out into Lake Superior. So we do, we did see a little bit of a spike there one time, and we did start monitoring that area, that outlet into Lake Superior. We did start monitoring there, and we kept an eye on it for a while, for a couple of weeks. Saw there was no spikes. We even had some samples come back non-detect, so there was 0 levels of bacteria in the water. So those were all, we do take that into account. I look at the analysis every week, and if there's any type of spike or anything that points that jumps out at me, I always we'll take an additional sample.
Now the area on the opposite the bay has when you're going around between Baraga and Lance, there's a large wetland there. Does that have any effect on water quality? Yeah,
that's the area. So you have your wetland area there, and then you also have your water treatment plant up there that discharges into the river there too, the little creek. So yeah, it does. And so what we do now, what we've been doing as part of this grant is when this bacteria hits a certain level, it goes on for a secondary analysis, and it's called microbial source tracking. And what that does is it takes out DNA markers, and it'll tell us where that source of bacteria is coming from.
Well, that's really great that we're able to count on you guys to let us know if there's anything bad happening.
Yeah.
So,
we have a couple of questions here from our audience as well. Connie again says, can you test the creek above the sewage treatment discharge area?
We only, for this type of sampling, we are only sampling areas where people swim, beach identified as like beach locations.
Okay. And we also have a question from Brad Austin from Recycle 906 in Marquette County. It says, how can I help you increase access to recycling and keep plastics out of our Great Lakes?
We have our brownfields specialist. Her name is Serene Gauthier. She has been really great, and she has been really pushing for a recycling program here on the reservation. So I would say get in contact with her. I believe all her contact information is on our KBIC website.
Thank you. I'll add a link to that.
Zena, do you have anything you want to add? I mean, you were really thorough, and you know, I found out where all the beaches are, so now I don't have to hunt for them. So what do you advise us to do, or visitors to do? For, you know, the most obvious one, of course, is take your trash with you, right? Leave no trace.
Yes, and I think, you know, another big thing is, you know, like even myself, I always carry a plastic bag in my vehicle now, because it seems like, you know, I mean, let's be real, you're gonna find it. And if you do see it, don't hesitate to pick it up, you know, pick it up, put it in your bag, you know, little trash bag, and remove it so it doesn't end up in the, you know, in the water or becoming, you know, a microplastic. You know, people smoking, if they only knew the end of those cigarettes, those do not, they maybe over time they disintegrate, but we pick up thousands of those things, and I'm sure they're not all just thrown there, you know, the day before we get there. So they've been there over time, and those also are harmful. I mean, you know, birds think they're food, fish probably think they're food, they end up in the water. It's not good. So again, we remove a lot of those. So if you're smoking, take care of your, you know, put your butts in the garbage, you know, have a little cup, a canister, whatever. I guess it goes back to, you know, leave no trace, you know, leave it as it was, you know, when you found it. If there is garbage there, remove it. So I guess that's the best advice I can give is, you know, don't put your trash out there. I mean, we live here. This is our home. You know, if we don't take care of it and protect it, you know, years to come, our future generations aren't going to be able to enjoy it.
Absolutely. It always amazed me how many butts I find lying around. Connie also says, I bet a lot of those cig butts come floating into beaches from boats.
Yes. It's astounding. Like I said, you know, we could have just another, you know, couple cleanups just for cigarette butts and just for tiny, very small pieces of, you know, what we call the microplastics. You know, we've removed a large portion of them, but there's still, I'm sure Stephanie can tell you, she, you know, she's on the beaches as much as we are. So she sees it too. And, you know, and they pick it up too when they're on the beaches. But so, you know, it's just, yeah, we could pick it, and if people start doing their part, you know, it'll make it less and less. And, you know, hopefully, you know, in 5 years or so, hopefully maybe you won't see any microplastics on the beaches or cigarette butts.
Stephanie, do you have any advice before we close tonight?
No, I think that, you know, Zena's actually done a great job with the beach cleanup this year. You know, usually we have 2 really big beach cleanups where last year we came together with Michigan Eagle and Eagle Mine and Superior Watershed Partnership. You know, all the organizations that we work with came together, and we did one big major cleanup in July, and then we do another one in the fall. So, I mean, we've this year, you know, of course, because of COVID was a little bit difficult, you know, we couldn't take that on like we did last year, but it was, you know, we're like Zena was talking, she's out there, once a week. I'm out there once a week. And a big part of our job is education. So when we're out in the public and, we're doing, our job, grabbing samples or picking up the beaches, we're always trying to educate the public on what they could do on their part to help us along the way. So this year, going out, we talked a lot with the little kids, and we started noticing the little kids following their parents and picking up after their parents. So it's really nice to see those types of things. But I guess my advice would be is, KBIC has worked really hard with building these different partnerships, and we're always expanding, and looking for, new ways, to get the job done. So I would say, my advice would be is if you see a problem, or if you have questions, reach out to us. And, we're always here to help. We're always here to answer questions. We love to go out and do, speaking events, so I would just say my advice would be is don't be afraid to contact us.
Okay, well, thank you again. And by the way, Stephanie is going to be talking about the water, what would we call it, your water program on the reservation on October 15th. And I look forward to getting an even better overview of what you guys are doing down there. So I appreciate that. And Evan, do you want to put on our second last slide?
Absolutely, Horst. Here is our next show on Thursday, September 24th.
Okay, and that's Trevor Powell. He's newly appointed by the governor for the new Office of Future Mobility and Electrification. What that means is that the governor is taking a proactive approach to finding ways to remove internal combustion engines from our environment and electrify everything, which in effect would reduce our greenhouse gas emissions and be able to actually keep from getting these high temperatures that would cause great harm to everyone. So this will really be an interesting program. I hope everyone here tonight who's listened will join us, and also make sure you tell your friends and neighbors that this is coming on, because this is new, and I was kind of surprised that they answered and said they would have him appear on our show. So it's a great opportunity for us to be on the cutting edge. And then the next one, if you haven't seen something telling you to vote, this will be the one for you, because as I say on the bottom, as if your life depended upon it. And I think anybody who's into the environment knows that this is the turning point for us in 2020, and we encourage everyone to vote and get out and make sure that we have the ability to have control over our environment again. Let's see, the other thing I wanted to mention is that with line 5 at this point, the legal decision on what Enbridge has done wrong in terms of the 1953 easement agreement is coming out soon, and it'll be interesting to see if the governor will take action based upon that information from the DNR's complete review of the agreement. So that's it for tonight. Evan, do you have anything on your end?
Well, I just want to extend one more thank you to Zena and Stephanie. You two are heroes for what you're doing. These beaches that we have up here are one of the best things about the UP. We're famous for them. People come from all over to see them. and the amount of cleanup that they need is really unnecessary. So I'm so thankful for all the work you're doing and spreading the word to everyone to do their part too. And I hope we can all do a little bit more and keep the UP beautiful.
Thank you for having me.
Well,
Be
thank
good.
you again. Yes. Okay. Thank you again, everyone. It was a great show, and we look forward to having more programs from the tribe, and we can get an idea of the kind of work that they're doing in all aspects that affect their lives and in effect everyone else's life in Baraga County. So thank you again.
Hope to see you all soon.
Evan, you want to hold on? Thanks, Zena.
Thank you.